Hello, heathens.
Hello, heathens.
It's good to be
I am
back.
so excited.
Yeah, same. Um, we talked about angels in the last podcast, and so in this podcast, we have to talk about the counterpart, which would be demons.
Demons.
And once again, this season, because we're not talking about interpersonal stuff, which to myself and Nicole, I think you should agree with this, is not as big of topics. They're big topics in the way of they matter, but not as big in the way of there is a vast majority of knowledge and ideas and theories and just information to sift through.
Centuries of information to sit the vastness of the topics that we've had to do this year is
And it's literally only April.
all right.
When I say like we didn't realize like this season is a lot of information for us to sift through and like there's like meanings for every culture and religion and like non-religion and just like there's a lot of info. A lot of
Well,
info.
and that's the thing. It's like really this whole thing is you take one concept and you give it to 10 people and they all have their own idea, right?
And
Which is
yeah,
how it should be, right? So it's very, but it makes it like researching it, you have to shift through a lot of stuff.
yeah, yeah. It's just these topics are big, 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 big. And like it doesn't seem big because you say angel or you say demon, and it's like you have this image of what you think it is in your head. And like that's what you go off of, right? But then when you just start doing the research and you really start getting into these freaking black holes, not even rabbit holes, you get sucked in and you're just like, I don't know what's up and down and what's left and right anymore. I know
Right.
I don't, this is a lot.
I don't know.
I don't know. I gotta figure this out.
Hmm.
So, yes, today we're talking about the opposite of what we talked about last week, which is demons. And there's just a lot. Well, I would, like always, I want to say, just to preface, nothing's written in stone for us. Everything's written in pencil. So things that we might believe in now, it doesn't necessarily mean in the next 20 minutes we'll believe in that anymore. You know what I mean? So just to keep
Well,
that in mind with us.
and especially since we're talking about it can be such a touchy subject or a scared, or it provokes feelings, right?
Yeah.
So, what we're going to try is do our best to demonize demons.
No, I like that was great verbiage. I love that.
And that's what we really want to do is just to make them to take a closer view at them and not have them all be scary and they're all like dangerous and all of them blah blah blah. We want to expand that view in your head about what they are.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess to start off, like we're gonna talk about like just the word demon first, and then we'll go into like more because we have a lot of parts to today's episode. But
Hmm.
the term demon is commonly used to refer to a evil or malicious entity with powers that exceed ours, like ordinary humans' powers. And
Hmm.
the thing with this, though, is that the term hasn't always been negative. It originally referred to a deity of modest strength, and it didn't have any connotation of good or evil. And it wasn't until the fourth century that the concept of demons and malevolence, I want to say maleficent so bad, malevolence, that they became increasingly intertwined. Like the words together no longer had separate entities, it was one. And what happened was that the Greek words daemon or daemonion, which bear with me, were routinely used as translations for heathen or
Yeah.
unclean spirit, which haha, funny. So now what's happened now in modern times is that the definition of a demon is hostile and sometimes indifferent, otherworldly entities with capabilities that humans can only dream of. And that the stereotypical demon is selfish and its actions are largely driven by the prospect of personal gain. And I just find that this one word being broken down to its actual meaning is like so different than how we interpret it in today's understanding.
Well, because today's understanding, we don't actually research stuff like this, right? We take it from movies or from, you know, church or the medias, right? Like
Yeah.
Facebook or whatever, right? Or YouTube. That's where I get my information.
Yeah.
But we don't go any further than just that. We have a hard time going past just the title of things.
Yeah, and like we all know, and if you don't, it's a lot of fear-based actions of why we don't is because, we have all this fear built up from like all those what's the word I want? Medias, I guess. That we're now terrified of the word. Like even being a hairdresser who talks about weird shit. I talk about demons sometimes and like I get people freaked out. And I'm like, listen, they're like, you're not scared? And I'm like, no, because I have a different understanding. Like my knowledge branches
Yeah.
past the word or the fear from a movie. And that's not to be disrespectful. It's just to be like, there is more knowledge out there to gain. And like the more you know, the better off you are, honestly.
Right. And that's the whole thing. It's like I was right there with you with like being scared of demons. Like The Exorcist scared the hell out of me,
Scared the
right?
fucking shit out of me.
Like you never touch a Ouija board. Like that's
No.
exactly what you do, right? Like now, I don't think you should go out and buy a Ouija board. I think you should actually know what you're doing before you like pick one up. But on the other hand, it's also not going to make you a possessed
The best
person.
example for you that you've talked about multiple times on the podcast, which makes me giggle with this specific episode, is you talking about when you were getting into magic and you were like, I'm gonna freaking if I get into any of this, even just the later version of metaphysics, I'm gonna summon I'm just a demon's gonna be here and I'm gonna have to deal with it and I don't know what I'm doing.
Right, exactly. Which all of that was somewhat true, except now I know what to do with it.
Yes. And like you now also the summoning portion's not exactly just like the easiest thing in the world, but also like
Well, and that's the thing, is like, you have to be a energetic match to these entities. And not every time you do something wrong or demon like doesn't necessarily like a demon has to be around too. Like you can't just
yeah.
like there's a whole ritual and you have to fast and you have to write stuff on the floor and you have to, you know what I mean? Like to actually summon the demon, you have to do a lot of
Yeah.
things. Well,
Which speaking of, just to quickly touch on this, because we talked about how like we this could be a whole podcast, which maybe we'll do in the future, but
this could be my
um
whole life. What are you talking about?
yeah, for real. We could talk about this forever, but exorcisms and possessions aren't as
Common.
fantasized as they look on screen. It's just not as common. It's pretty rare, like very rare actually, and it's just not, especially these bigger demons that we see in movies like Hereditary was a good one with the
Yeah.
god Pan. That
Hmm.
now granted the god Pan's a trickster, which is a form it's a whole thing anyways,
It's
but
Paimon.
oh, they said Pan in the is that his technical name is
Oh
Pan?
no, Pan is a different deity god, forest god, the green man, where hold on, Paimon is a different demon altogether.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. So that kind of even that movie, that was a good movie to show you that there was a lot that went into that, a lot and years and generations worth of getting to that point of a
Yes.
possession. So like when a lot of people talk about demons and they get scared about stuff like that and they think that even talking about it is going to get them possessed, it's just not that simple. It's not that dense, I guess, for a better lack of terms.
Right. Well, and the whole thing is you have to know your intentions and you have to like, um, because I know people have experienced things like just thinking about demons or researching demons or something like that. Stuff will start to happen. And, but I think it's because it's that fear base that's underlying current of it that really attracts that kind of stuff. So you have to really like be on a part. And if you're not in that part, you can always use your angels to help you. If you don't feel like you can be protected, you can use your angels to help you feel more safe and secure.
Yes, absolutely. So, speaking of movies, you have a list of movies that you wanted to talk about quickly,
Yes.
right?
I want to go over this one understanding of this is Michael, this is in the book Monsters that we've talked about before by John Michael Greer. And he's got demons, he's got angels in here too, and I didn't even.
Mm.
So the lore of Western magic has its own take on original origin and nature of demonic entities. According to the Kabbalah, the core philosophy of Western magic and demon powers are entities surviving from a universe that existed before this one. Of that earlier universe, little is known, but it is said that it had to been a realm of unbalanced forces that destroyed itself after a relatively short period of existence. So then it goes on to say that um, basically demons are a husk or a shell of these of their former self kind of thing
Mm.
from that universe that existed before us. Yeah, I think that's good. If you want to read more, there's a whole chapter on it by this book. Awesome.
It's a good book in general.
Yeah. It doesn't just have one thing. It has things on mermaids and vampires, and it's written in a way that seems more grounded in theory than it does in fantasy. So that's what I really like about it. Okay, so my movie. Forgot where I was.
That's okay.
So 10, top 10, just to like go with total horror, total fantasy, fairy tale. These are the fairy tales. These are not what demons actually are. This is just fun and fairy tale-ish, right? But this is what scares us. And then we think it's real, and it's not. So the first one I have is The Last Exorcism, which has again, he has two he appears twice in this list, is Paimon. So we just went over Paimon a little bit when we talked about Hereditary, because Hereditary is also in here. Um, this is he is one of the 72 demons in the Lesser Key of Solomon. King Man appears as the ninth spirit in the Ars of Goetia, the 22 or the 22nd spirit in, I am not even going to say that word because it's Latin and I'm not, it's like Pursuta do Monarchia. Yeah.
Yes.
And okay, these are other things, blah, blah, blah. He's first listed as the sixth spirit and later as the third king. Um, so he does have it. He's actually a real demon the the Solomon or Solomon magic. I wanted to go through what I didn't set this up right because he was also in Hereditary, that cult that had represented him. Uh, his powers are. Oh, here it is. He works in a horse voice. Yeah, they don't have this right. Okay, let's move on because
I have it really quick if you want,
okay,
because your girl's a
I
quick
know you
little
are.
grabber just when I can tell you need help. So
I need
I have
help.
that he is the ninth spirit described in Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon.
Hmm.
That he grants like something to magic. Where did that go? I'm so sorry. He's very obedient, more obedient in Lucifer than other kings are.
Yeah,
Which we'll talk about Lucifer later. And that Lucifer is here to be understood that he was drowned in the depth of his knowledge. He would needs be like God, and for his arrogance was thrown into destruction. Um, he's constrained by divine virtue to stand before the exorcist, where blah blah blah. Let's see his attributes. Where did that go? Oh, they even have how to summon him on here.
oh,
Wow. Um, he does. Where did that go? Oh, right
oh,
here.
he
Okay.
has. Okay, so he has possession, manipulation, seduction, mastery of speech,
There we go.
illusions, longevity, dark magic, unbrancy, can corrupt the righteous, such as priests.
Yeah, and I just read that he can also grant many wishes to the magician who summons him.
Yes. Okay, so the next one is Lamia, which is Drag Me to Hell. Did you watch that one?
I did not watch that one.
I was actually thought that was better than I thought it would be.
Mm,
Oh my God. These guys are messing with me so bad right now because I just clicked on it and it disappeared. This is how this energy is. It's chaotic.
it
Right. Did you find it?
I have that it's a powerful demon that torments its victims for 3 days before ultimately manifesting and literally dragging them to hell. That's what happens in the movie.
Right.
Now,
So Lemia is a Greek mythologically was actually a child-eating monster, and later tradition was a type of night hunting spirit, a daemon. So the history on this one goes back to Zeus. Zeus was she was his concubine. The wife got upset, as we all know she does, and then kidnapped and killed all of Lemia's children.
mm,
And in after this, she basically went insane and became this malevolent spirit uh, because of all of this that had happened.
mm,
So she likes to, and she's actually the fun fact, she's part snake.
interesting.
Let's see here. Who do we have?
I just
Oh,
read that over the years, she became a famous boogeyman story in Greece, told the children to make them behave.
there's a lot of them that are used for that.
That's funny.
Next on the list is from Sinister, and his name is Bughuul, Huel, Bughuul. And he is also likes to eat children, by the way, just so you know. They must be delicious. Occupation is a Babylonian god of darkness, collector of soul, and a serial killer. Powers are vast, dark powers, hypnosis, dimensional travel, invisibility, telepathic and electronical control, tel teletransportation, I can do words.
Mhm.
Just kidding, because I don't know. This is telekinesis and hallucination manipulation, shape-shifting, and soul absorption.
Interesting. For the fandom for the movie, they say that he is an ancient Babylonian pagan deity who consumes the souls of human children, and he possesses a realm of his own and can travel into the mortal world via himself, images of himself.
Oh,
Isn't that interesting? See, and
that
it's
is
so,
cool.
this is why we want to do this to you guys, is break this down,
Yeah.
is because even in the movies, he's depicted as a Babylonian god,
Mm-hmm.
aka now demon.
Now he's a demon. So not everybody that's a demon is a demon.
Well, and I think that this just goes to show that there is different research outside of how they're being used within these fantasy worlds.
Absolutely. Who are we up now? Oh, our favorite is Annabelle. And so this was a little bit trickier to find out what demon was actually in, but what they had, like, the conclusion they came to is Malthus, which is Malthus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also known as Helphus.
Huh.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Earl of Genis the Tan, commanding up to 26 legions of demons, who is said to have a rough voice when speaking. He is often depicted in a shape of a stork. Powers are builds towers and fills them with ammunition and weapons, and sends warriors to the place he is requested to. He is said to have a rough voice when speaking. Apparently, that is a big thing about it. Next on the list is Evil Dead, the Deadities, which I was like, what? Where are you? Deadities. Deadities is a specific undead parasitic demonic spirit which feeds on the souls of living creatures and possesses their body.
Hmm.
So deities originated as the souls of wicked humans that have been corrupted in the dark pits of hell itself. Discovered by the Canendrians demons, the creatures lean to channel these cursed spirits and unleash them upon the living world, which is in the Evil Dead. That's their attribute and how they really thought about these things. Um, ooh, ooh.
Oh,
So Insidious, the lipstick man or lipstick face or red face man guy
yeah.
thing. So this one they actually connect with Satan. And in the seven deadly sins, Satan represents wrath. Um, and in the movie, these are really good movies too, if you guys want to watch some like not good scary horror films. And I thought the whole series was pretty good.
Okay,
Okay, so
so
next
that's
one. So the next one is Hereditary, which is Pandemon again. Paimon, sorry. I always have it at first in my head as a word, and then I know the real word it is, but that first word always comes out first. So Paimon in Hereditary.
Oh, yeah. That was a good
Did you-
fucking movie.
It was a great movie. Did you find something?
I did. So the two demons that I was wondering if they were in movies because I've heard of them often that I wanted to talk about. One of them is in The Pope's Exorcist. And I was
Oh,
wondering
which is a
why I
great
was like,
movie.
great movie. Isn't it Russell Crowe or whatever his name is?
Yeah, Russell Crowe's in it.
Asmodeus is in that.
Yes.
And I was wondering because I'm like, gosh, like, I know there's been the bigger name demons, quote unquote, in some of these movies as you're talking about these ones. And I'm like, never really thought about the demons in the movies other than Hereditary. I had to know who that was because I was like, this is just like
Well, clearly it's a cult movie.
pandemonium.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I was like,
yeah.
what is happening in this movie? But like, I was curious where I had heard Asmodeus and then the other one for Beelzebub, I'm like, I haven't heard of this movie. It's called Soul to Keep.
Soul to Keep. I don't
Yeah.
even think who's it got in it?
Let's see here, because I was like, what? I've never heard of it, but Beelzebub is in this movie and is the main demon in it. And I'm like, what the hell? Sandra Mae Frank, Jordan Theodore, Derek Long, Kate Rose Reynolds, nobody that I know.
Well, then the next one on my list is this is actually an older movie. It's got Denzel Washington in it and John Candy, I think. No, not Candy. Uh, Goodman.
Hmm.
So this was as Aziel and was called Fallen is the actual like movie.
Is this an older one? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think it was 1990 something.
1998.
Yeah. So Aziel, I thought it was interesting when I was looking up this one because it represents the desolate place where the scapegoat bearing the sins of the Jews were sent during, and please forgive me, yeah, Yom Kippur, yep, because it's
Yeah, Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur, Yom Kippur. Okay,
Kipper, I think. We're not the best with words,
where it's
obviously.
clearly through this whole thing.
Obviously. Through everything.
So as Aziel came to be viewed as a fallen angel responsible for introducing humans to forbidden knowledge, as described in the Book of Enoch. His role as a fallen angel is partly remaining in Christianity and Islamic. Um, that's so it's cool because each one of even like with angels and demons, they all have their own like little thing that they do, that their jobs are, what their container. They all have a container that they go in
Yeah,
that describes them.
absolutely. And I feel like this is why we're breaking this down too, is that like I said before, a lot of these movies um take this character and make it something more or different than the knowledge that has been presented of what it is.
Right. Like they'll take a demon and then be like, well, clearly this is scary, and then they
Yeah,
make it Hollywoodized.
right. Because like
Even hauntings are not that drama dramatized.
yes. It's just
Yes, it happens, but it's not all the time. It's not every time. It's not like it's probably grandma, like it's fine.
Yeah, because you know what's so funny is like when we go and do a house cleanses and stuff, which we haven't done one in a while, but when I would talk about it, clients would be all like, what if there's a demon and blah blah. And I'm like, well, in my understanding, demons have rules to follow, humans don't. They have free will. And those are the
Mhm.
ones that are more tricky and sticky than the other ones because they can do literally whatever the f they want.
Right. And
And
again,
if
it just goes back to like if you don't want anything in your house that's negative, then stop being negative.
yeah,
And I know that's super easy to like say,
right. It sounds easier.
oh, right.
But like, yeah, it's just it just goes back to the simple thing of you attract your energy attracts what's the saying I'm looking for here?
That energy goes where attention flows.
Flows. There it is. Yes.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that actually goes the other way, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Attention goes where
Where energy
energy,
flows. Yes, there it is.
yeah.
Essentially, God, forgive us, you guys. That's essentially what you're doing.
No.
It's just that freaking simple. It's like, listen, it's like how Nicole, when we talk about it as simply as um, if you're worried about a car accident while you're driving, there's probably going to be a car accident when you're driving. It's some simple things like that.
Or you'll see one. Or yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or like, the whole plane situation, you've brought that up multiple times. You're terrified of falling out of the sky in the plane and blah blah blah. And like all that energy is going everywhere else as well as you're everybody's tapping into this energy and it's creating this huge fear around it. It's kind of like the same
Right.
thing. So,
Hmm.
okay. Moving into the next thing, what we want to talk about too is Goetia demons and the lesser, here it is, Lesser Key of Solomon. So the Lesser Key of Solomon is a 17th century grammar on sorcery that invokes the hierarchies of the abyss by legions and millions, meaning that this is a book of summoning demons, essentially, to make it more digestible. And it talks about 72 different spirits that could be summoned and controlled by demons.
And this
Or but by
is
magic, I'm sorry.
by magic,
By
right?
magic, not by demons.
And each one of these, like you can work with, you can learn things from. Also, they're in ritual magic, you end up combining your angels and your demons together
Yes.
because ultimately you want balance in your life, you want balance in your energy, you want balance. Your main goal is to reach God, really. It's the Jacob ladder. And this is what we have to do as humans. This is kind of knowledge that the angels gave us. So that way, or demons or whoever, this is how we attain this knowledge is through these cosmic beings and then putting in these rituals that need to be practiced and done right for them to actually work. It's like a key to opening a door
Yes.
or even like a telephone number to call somebody.
Yes. With that being said, I do want to point out that before we go into any more, that there are witches and magicians and everything within that realm that does choose to work with demons and or the energy of demons and they actively work and they teach about how they work with them and there is a lot of misconceptions in working with them. Um, a lot of misconceptions because you'll get both ends of the spectrum. You'll get somebody that's lightly like, oh, no, it's easy. And somebody that's like, you have to do all the ward protecting and all these things before you can even get to this point. And I think there are some people out there that make it more digestible. One of them being, and I'm going to butcher her name because I have not heard her say it. And so I went searching for her to say it. But Shawian Ku, it's Chaweon. Her last name's Ku, Koo. She's on TikTok talking about it often,
She's
and
amazing.
she's phenomenal. The way she
Mm-hmm.
talks about it, she even says in one of her top pin videos that she doesn't even believe that demons are a real thing, but
Mm-mm.
she still does demon rituals and how they've worked for her and all these things. She has a book out. She talks about working with angels as well. I think that if that interests you, I would go and listen to her videos because she makes it so digestible and so easy to understand.
Yeah, because basically what these are aspects of you anyway. And we've either demonized them in like religion or just like in your own parental upbringing as well. Like I am lazy. So of course, like uh I that's bad. And I don't now I'm shunned that and put that in the dark. It can
Yes.
be as easy as that all the way to like the CEOs in the Guide of Magic, right? Like
Yeah.
there's it's so vast and so there's so many levels on it. And really like what I would if this interested you, I would say look for a teacher because it just is not very easy to understand. There's a lot, it took me years to not be afraid and thought that they were like the things that are on TV and that something was going to come and get me. And
Yeah, I thought it was going to come through the TV. Sometimes even
right.
still, if I'm watching something that makes me, it makes that like little nervous pitch in your stomach, I will go and
Yeah.
like bust it, seal off the TV because I'm like, uh-uh, this household.
Right, right. Or like
Yeah.
I'll hear something and I'll be like,
Is it
that's
cats or is my house haunted?
yeah. I mean, the main thing about me, when there's something that's not supposed to be in my room that's caught or my room, my house that's causing havoc, and I've talked to Cassie about this a lot, is usually I get dreams. And the dreams always have something in there that like looks like a human, but that's something it's like the 3D printer got it wrong. Like the
Yeah.
translation got wrong. And that is the biggest thing. Like if you're having somebody that's going to be tricksting you, usually it's there's something out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Now the better ones, the better tricksters are better at it than, like if you're getting tricked by Mercury, it's a well thought out plan. If you're getting tricked by a lesser deity that doesn't want to put as much energy into it, then you can kind of see the holes in their plan, depending on what level you're starting at, right?
Yes.
Um, that has been, and really, if you get scared, say the Lord's Prayer or say some sort of prayer from the God, from your God, the universe, whatever. That is your best way of just making yourself feel safer.
Yeah, and I'd also add to that, get a house cleansing, get your house locked down. You know what I mean? If you don't know how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
there are people that do. We know how to do it. There's plenty of people in the community that can come bless your house and lock it down. So it's harder. It would have to be pretty freaking powerful at that point to get through into your house and make a ruckus, you know? You'd have to literally
Mm-hmm.
hold its hand and pull it in.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I like to ride in on it.
Yeah, that's true
Not
too.
anymore. I do have everything.
Locked and loaded, baby.
Gotta lock down.
Um, So I feel like this is a good point too to talk about like some of the physical forms that they can take that I have found.
Mm-hmm.
Because like terms like entity, spirit, being are used to describe, or they're being used to describe demons because they're just, when it comes to like talking about what a demon can look like, there's just way too many variations, right, to their true physical form, especially lesser
Yeah.
ones or shapeshifter ones. But
Mm-hmm.
most demons can be described using like one of these following characteristics, and there's only four, so it's not like a huge list. But to make it simple, like sometimes they can look like humans, and some are limited to one physical body. Some can metamorphose into different humans, animals, or other like dark creatures, like what are there's like fairies, things like that. There's master shapeshifters that can manipulate themselves into literally anything they want to look like. And then there's some that are discarnate, which means that their true form consists purely of spirit or some ethereal substance.
Mm-hmm.
Etheric is what I wanted to say. But they can come in different forms. And in one of the higher ranking demons I'll be talking about too, he comes as a child.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting because I feel like there's a lot of depictions out there of like the bigger demons and the higher ranking ones that are just like, it's kind of like trying to depict God in my
Mhm.
head. I'm like, you don't really know what it looks like, and so you're trying to make it make sense to you, and so you come up with this form in your head of what it looks like, and that's what it is. Like when we were talking about angels and how some angels do not look like humans with wings at
Oh,
all.
right. Well, that's the thing is the demons here. Here I've got some pictures of the Goetia deer, stuff like this.
Yeah, that's
That's
lovely.
fine.
No,
That's
that's
fine.
great. What do you mean?
That's
For those that
fine.
are listening and not watching our YouTube version, it's basically a head with a bunch of like horned legs coming out from all around the head.
Yeah, like this one here that has
Oh,
uh
that's I just I just was reading about him earlier.
it's Ambrax head.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I was reading about him earlier. Remember the picture?
So yeah, they don't even really make sense. Like they write in on it alligator and like but like it's chaos. It's chaos. That's what it is, right? Like,
Yes. Absolutely it is.
and when it comes down to everything, if God made everything, right, including the serial killer that lives down the road, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there is one. Anyway, I digress. But if God made everything, he made them for a reason. So now, if we hold on to that truth about God made everything, then you have this is the way my brain works is the fact that if I hold on to the truth that God made everything, then I have to figure out why God made demons. Why do we need chaos in this realm? Why? And not to say that I'm gonna like answer it in a like short little time. It's one of those things that I carry in my back pocket and like wait for it to kind of come and manifest into. Because like if this universe is a lot, we wish it was very Garden of Eden, the source that we've been promised, right? We're looking for this peace and this like angelic divine place where like I feel like most people have blinders on and they don't see what the real world and nature looks like, right? And you and I have talked about this a long time is that, you know, death and violence is a natural occurring thing in the world. But what we're doing is we're shaming it and guilting it into being that you're bad and wrong. Now, I don't have the proper words or the knowledge to actually, at this point of time, to actually communicate properly, like what that would look like so it would make sense in the brain and in a normal world without it feeling bad. Because we tend to take anything that feels bad and make it demonic or bad or wrong. But if we left the building up forever, then it just sits there and rots. Who wants stuff to sit there and rot? Do you want, do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
do you want to just leave that building there until it completely crumbles away and we have to watch it eyesore like, or the body that decomposes on the side of the road that you drive past every day, right? It's something needs to happen to that to take it away. And that's what these creatures are kind of like, but we don't give them the proper, like, we, because either they smell bad or they make us feel bad or anything like that. So I feel like it's a hard thing you have to have balance because you have to have chaos to have the balance.
So what's happening here, people, is Nicole does not live a life of fear. That's what it is. It just hit me. That's why it's hard because fear is big. We talk about this. We've talked about this for a whole year in a podcast about how fear holds us back a lot. It holds us back from understanding, for greater understanding, from better seeing, feeling, believing. Like it's just you're not living in fear of this, and so you're able to see it differently. is
Hmm.
essentially what's happening.
Right. Because, like, it's hard to talk about this and not be like, well, I don't want it to happen to myself. Like, no, like, that's okay. Let's get past that. Like, let's like actually digest it a little bit. I'm not afraid of death because I'm going to become one of the universe. I will literally dissolve physically and spiritually. I will dissolve into both. My body will dissolve into the earth and I will become one with the earth again. And that's what we've always talked about, sending energy into the earth so it can come out recycled. We talk about this all the time and how it's such a good thing, but when we think about death, it's not what we think it is. And furthermore, it's almost demonized to say that I'm okay with dying
Damn.
because people are like, well, now she's suicidal. It's like, okay, let's step back just a little bit, right? Like there's so much of this fear is projected onto somebody that sees things in a different kind of way because like I'm not, or death isn't bad. Now, do I want it to come right now? No, not particularly, but that's kind of, those are facts, right? Like I'm going to die. I'm going to get older. I'm going to like, um, do all of this. So it goes back to the whole thing of like live every day as it's your last because you really don't know when it's going to come. Now, I feel like soft exits are very much like you get a disease and then you're kind of like slowly going into the veil where like sharp deaths are that transition that happen in a split second. There's two choices that you can either go quickly or go, but people are so afraid to go into that part that they go slowly. They have to make their body so discomfortable that they finally are tired of feeling this discomfort and that anything would be actually better before it actually goes into the other one.
Yeah. Well, and to round that out and add to that, I just think that when it comes to fear, when it comes to demons too, is that doesn't go without saying that we don't still respect the energy. We might not fear the energy, but we do respect it. This isn't something we just
Absolutely.
fuck around with and we don't think about it and we're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not scared. I'm gonna fuck around and find out. No. Like this kind of knowledge, it comes with a respect, right? No longer
Right.
fear, respect places fear.
Right.
Or it's like boundaries replace fear.
Right, exactly. Because I'm not, I have a container
Hmm.
and this is my container. I've got the walls up. I know what they say. They're charmed with whatever I need to charm them with, right? Like if I don't want any ketchup, like I just know ketchup. That's it. Like I'm not gonna do any ketchup. Like that's my boundary. That's my kid, like
Yeah.
that's the flavor of that boundary.
Hmm.
I always go back to food, but it's fine.
We love food in this household.
Oh my God, so much so. It's my Taurus moon.
Um, oh, sorry, did you have more to add?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
cool.
think that channel went out.
That channel was like, and we're done.
And we're done.
Um, okay, so let's see, what else do I have here? I have, speaking of how demons are made. Now, there's multiple beliefs. There's a Christian belief, there's an Islamic belief, there's multiple beliefs. One of the ones that I read that I could say that I would back is that it's rare for some, it's rare, but some deities are strong enough that they can independently create demons, right? Like such as God creating Satan. In contrast, there is a mass majority of pagan demons that are born as a result of sexual intercourse between two deities, such as demigods and Cambion.
Hold on. Demons.
Yes, which is I think that it's hard for me to put belief into one thing personally because I'm heathenistic in the way that I can hold many
Absolutely.
thoughts in one realm. And it's always
And
hard
you
for me
have
when
to.
people ask me what I believe in. I can't really tell. It's hard. And sometimes I make people's brains hurty. And this is one of those where, like, in my mind, yes, God. could exist and could have made demons, and demons are fallen angels. Where on the other hand, yeah, John Michael Greer could be right, and they came from a whole different realm and they fell. And then there's this other realm of like, yeah, Greek gods could be real, and that they could be the result of two deities having a child. I can hold all those in at once because I don't necessarily believe in one of them specifically to be my real belief. So I think it's interesting to talk about more than one belief.
Absolutely, because that's the thing is they're not if you again, if we show a picture to everybody in the room, everybody's going to have a different thing because they have their
Yes.
own backgrounds, they have their own ways they've grown up and what they know and their knowledge base. They see things differently than you.
Yes.
So this is why we get so many things that explain the same one. And yes, they're all true-ish.
Yeah. Ish.
There's
And
multiple truths.
yeah. And when that doesn't go without saying, there's polar opposite of that, that some of it's shite. Some of it's absolute shite, mate.
Well, and that's the thing is that there's tricksters out there. And then there's also like, a lot of the stuff you wouldn't be able to actually summon a demon because they take out parts of the ritual that you don't know. So you don't know what you don't know because they don't necessarily want this information getting out either, right? Like,
Absolutely.
so there are, um, this is if you're afraid of the gatekeeper or the guardian of the threshold, this is why you shouldn't mess with stuff that you're afraid of.
Absolutely. So next what I have that I really quick want to say is similar, and we talked about this in the angels episode, that there is a method to everything in the world. Like angels, their demons have a hierarchy too, and this includes different demon ranks, attributes, and dominions to rule over, and how everything has to have balance. Each one of these demons serves a specific purpose. And some have a polarity that is an angel, some have polarities that are saints, which I found super interesting.
Hmm.
Um, if there's something you have, I could go into the differences between Lucifer, Saint, and Leviathan, unless there's something else you want to put in
I mean,
currently.
I guess the only thing I would go that I have that's along those lines were with the seven arc demons is somebody had like put together. Um, first being Lucifer, and he is represented by pride. Second is Beelzebub, which is envy. Satan is wrath. Abaddon is sloth. Mammon is greed. Belphazor is gluttony, and Asmodeus is lust.
And those are like attributes of the seven deadly sins, right?
Right, right. Which these are really cool to actually be like, all right, if I'm gonna do self work, these are the things that I would actually like look at because they're popular, right? Like, and these are easy ones because we all have these days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We all have these days. So to work with these would be to feed these parts of you that your pride, your envy, your wrath, your sloth, and believe me, you have all of them.
Fuck yeah, you do. To say you don't, turning a blind eye, dog.
Yeah, that's when it's gonna come and bite you in the ass.
Absolutely.
I have classes too, but they're um these I have to go to my because I wrote it down twice. What was that first word? That Lerlarium?
Delirium.
Lilarium. This is the etheric realm. So the classes in this would be living in the etheric realm. Then we have Ariel, which is air, terrestrial, which is the top of the earth, marine, which is water, subterranean,
Subterranean.
Yeah, cave. Those are caves. And Luciferian, which is the lowest level of hell. Um, these demons are the demons that don't really have a lot of consciousness, and they are attracted to humans just by the warmth of them. They're not very smart. They're more like feral or
Mm.
animalistic. That's all I got.
Okay. Um, okay, so what I really wanted to talk about this is the difference between Satan and Lucifer and how
Mm-hmm.
completely these are two completely different entities because we throw around Lucifer and Satan, even Leviathan, all in the one same realm, and it's not they're not the same. They're not the same. They're not the same.
They're not the same.
So
They're different
Lucifer.
energies, right?
Yes, different entities completely. Lucifer outranks Satan and is given the title Emperor of Hell. And Lucifer was the angel who originally fell from heaven after fighting with God, and he corresponds to the sin of pride, right? We've talked about that already. But when he was cast out of heaven, Lucifer took some angels with him who became princes of hell and maintained order over his dominion. So, like, the dominion of hell belongs to Lucifer. Now, it's been said that Lucifer appears to mortals as a beautiful child, and his name translates to Lightbringer. But this is where it gets fucky. The name Lucifer is not used in the New Testament since Christ is described as being the bearer of light.
Right.
And it gets fucky and it switches. But we don't notice that because, again, research. So, Satan, on the other hand, is a crowned prince of hell, which there are multiple of them, which I had to also get that roadblock out of my head because I'm like, there can only be one crown prince. Game of Thrones.
uh, demons don't listen to authority.
They don't have there's not that roadblock for them. So, there's multiple
Mm-mm.
of them. So, I'm going to say a few of them. But Satan's a crown prince of hell who rules over witchcraft and embodies the wrath of sin. And he appears dressed in white robes and has blonde hair with like a normal man's face. And Satan was used by God to test Job in the Bible. And he actively encouraged the righteous man to disobey the holy word of God. He's also often called upon in witchcraft for people's fertility needs, since he is also seen as a gatekeeper of fertility. Now, where this also gets fucky is Satan is the one who we are trying to depict as the horn red devil dude that's kind of man goat thing. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, a lot of people who use Satan in their witchcraft fucking hate that shit because it's so unrealistic to what they've seen of him and the multiple accounts of him coming to them has been. And I find that super entertaining.
Well, it's interesting because just now because when I was reading up on those demons, they talked about a scapegoat, right? So it's interesting to hear you talk about Satan because it's almost like because Satan started in the Old Testament and they used to sacrifice goats, right? That was where scapegoat kind of went from. Well, there's a couple of scapegoats, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Uh, they So when you put these and the Babylonian gods already had the horns of like bulls in their mind. So when we collaborate and put these pictures together, you got red for passion and fire and destruction. And then you have the scapegoat, which is what Judaism used to like sacrifice to get rid of their sin. They would put all their sins into the goat and then they would sacrifice the goat, right? So it's interesting how this all kind of goes together and you're like, oh, that's why we got that all in there, right?
I have another one to add. Do you know another horn god that's a god of fertility? That's also from another extremely old fucking religion.
Babylonian, Ishtar, I don't know. There's a couple I could.
Kunum in Egypt is a god of fertility,
Oh,
who's also associated with water and with procreation. Horn god looks like a
horn
bull,
god,
but looks like a bull. So there's that difference, but also horn god. So
horn
yeah.
god, yeah.
Um,
A lot of the older gods I feel are depicted with horns,
I
whether they're
agree.
on like a crown.
Hmm.
because Mesopotamia, they have a lot of like those, like almost like a hat, and then it comes up like this. So they're pointing, because basically they're divining the energy of God through the horns of the through horns.
They're horns, lots of horns.
Yeah.
The next one I have is Leviathan. Now, Leviathan is the crown prince, is another crown prince of hell, not the crown prince, another one, who represents the sin of envy. And he is described in the Bible as an enormous sea creature that roams the waters. But he's also considered to be one of the demons who used to be a seraphim angel, the burning angels that surround God on his throne. And he's associated with heretics, so those who speak out against the faith and rules of the church. He's also known as the gatekeeper and grand admiral of hell. And I feel like there's just been so many misconceptions about those three entities alone, and it's easier to break it down in my head and for you guys, so you can understand that when I say Lucifer and Satan are different, so is Leviathan, you
Hmm.
can kind of understand better. Now, outside of that, the two demons that I've heard about, I don't know why these two stick so well, but Asmodeus and Beelzebub. I feel like they're super feared and they are in a lot of things, movies specifically. Like
Hmm.
Asmodeus was in um what was that? The Pope's exorcism. I
Hmm.
think Beelzebub was also talked about in Dante's Inferno, and like he's been mentioned a lot. And I kind of wanted to break them down too because they're big players in the realm of hell. Like Beelzebub is known as the Lord of Flies, which
Hmm.
he's an easy one to be scared of because he appears as like a large winged insect when he's summoned. And he serves the sin of gluttony while also preying on human pride in his attempt to gain followers. Before accompanying Lucifer in his fall from heaven, he was in the cherubim order as an attendant to God. Also found that super interesting. I did
That's
not know
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Some place him in line of succession for the throne of hell, with only Satan or Lucifer being the top above him. And as hell's chief of staff, Beelzebub takes care of turmoil by demanding solidarity amongst Satanists and to keep Lucifer's affairs in order. So I don't know, in my head, because again, I respect these beings and I'm not necessarily terrified of them. Do I want to come face to face with them at this point in my life? Not necessarily, but I find that very cool almost that he helps to keep realm in order, like the realm in order. And he's
Hmm.
like the right hand man to Lucifer and helps out and takes care of things.
Hmm.
I find that pretty cool. But Asmodeus is another one that was in a recent movie, like I said, The Pope's Exorcist with what's his nuts.
Russell Crowe.
Thank you. I always forget his name. He sounds like Motley Crue or something, like he should be a band name, but Asmodeus' name means destroyer, and he is called the King of Demons, even though he stands below others in the hierarchy. And the reason I also wanted to talk to him about him is because there are a lot of associations with him being with the demoness Lilith and calling her his queen, while others
Hmm.
dispute their holy partnership altogether. And I found that super interesting because I didn't know that. Um, He's known for blocking married couples from consummating their union while tempting husbands to cheat, and he is the demon of lust, set on breaking apart marriages with enticements to forbidden pleasures. He was also once a part of the first hierarchy of angels and those that served at the throne of God in heaven. And he's known as the demon of wickedness, running the gambling operations of hell while urging mortals to wager their own dollars too. And I thought that was super interesting as well. Because, like,
Hmm.
you see these, like you were talking about earlier with these demons that are in horror films. I feel like you see them, but you just know nothing about what their true attributes or characteristics or what they do or what their purpose is.
Hmm.
So, yes, that
No,
was
because
my
I
spiel.
that's very good. It's very good.
Very nice.
Very nice. Very
Very
nice.
nice. Very nice.
I will say, like working with demons, you definitely have to work up to them, because what will happen is the attributes that are negative to your life will be um expanded almost. So if you don't have a good willpower in place, you're going to have these influences. You could have these influences, and that's how some people get a run amok. But it has to be there already. It's not like the demon
Creates
makes
it
you
out of
like that.
nothing.
Right. It just
Yes.
takes what you already have and expands it, make the bigger so you could see it.
Yeah.
And you can either get lost in it, which people do, or you can fight against it. Right.
Right.
All right. So are you ready let's do how to work with this in
Yes.
what am I trying to say?
A more
In a shadow way.
digestible interpersonal way.
Right. Let's talk about it more as in like how you would use this. What are you? How you would actually use this in your shadow work or to better yourself with self-improvement.
Yes.
One of the books that I want to talk about before we get started is um oh, oh, well, maybe I should do the ones that are finished. Well, anyway, it's called Feeding Your Demons.
Phenomenal book.
It's so good, and it's written by a female Tibetan monk. And she went through some ordeals and she really wanted to look, she basically researched the archives of um, the monastery to look for a female monk that she could relate to or help her through this thing that she went through that was really upheaval for her.
Hmm.
Um, the way this is put, it's so great because it really like makes you okay. So if there's an aspect of myself, like if I overeat, so then I would put two chairs in between each other and I would speak to myself or my demon and ask myself why I would do this. And if um or like what could I do to not do this? How like it's almost like having a conversation with a person that you're having conflict with. It just happens to be yourself at this point. So you would actually ask the question as you, and then you would go over and sit in the other and sit and pretend like you were this energy or this entity that represents what you're trying to shadow work. And I thought it was a very good um, way of helping you with these, or even transferring this energy into a more positive way. It gave you a structure on how to actually like, okay, this is my shadow. Okay, this is what I want to do. Okay, you know what I mean? Like it really like puts it into the 3D. It really does make it digestible in a way that like you could work with these aspects of yourself and make yourself better because you physically have to do things and you can talk to yourself and like it makes it gives you a container to actually perform it into.
Yeah, and I think that that book is really great because it really does get down to the root of what the actual problem is because it does go deeper too, where it's like, what do you start getting into the meditative version of it where you are asking it what it needs and like you're forming your body into honey and feeding it because you're finding out that you're overeating not because you think it's just your weight or not because of this. It could be some traumatic event that happened when you were a child that you didn't realize that this deep-seated trauma happened and that's why you're
Hmm.
causing all these little trickle down effects to overeating or thinking about this about your body or this about this. And it gets really into the deep rooted, why is this happening? Why am I doing this to myself? As opposed to being like, like our everyday, like you see a problem and you realize that you have this problem, and you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? And that's where you
Mm-hmm.
leave it. Or you're like, oh, it must be just because of this. I don't know. There's too much food's accessible to me. That's it. That's what it is. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's so much deeper than that. Like you really got to get to the root, and that book really takes you down to the root and the cause of that. And
Mm-hmm.
essentially that demon has a purpose that it's trying to show you what the fuck is the problem. But if you don't get down to the core of why that demon's there, then you're like essentially just being like, I'm gonna put you in the corner for now and move on.
Right. And ignore you
Yep, yep.
until you become a huge problem.
In the corner, you're not in the corner, you're in the whole room now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that book was
Until,
great.
yeah. Because like the things that we don't face and the things that we don't put attention onto that we're ignoring in our life, they just get bigger because they will be noticed no
Mm-hmm.
matter what. They
Yeah.
will be noticed. Um, so Teal Swan has a very good episode on her YouTube about demons and whether they exist or not. And it was very interesting to look at her version of it as well. Um, I do believe that, well, I guess I'm forming an opinion or a theory out there on. I feel like a lot of possessions are because that people feel powerless in their life and they have no other way of. And this is like kids getting abused, women getting abused, like these people that really feel like they have no other option and they just feel powerless. And I feel like that's the main thing because what happens is these energies or entities or these powers come in and they protect you. It's almost like multiple personalities a little bit. Like they would come in and step in and because you weren't powerful enough to actually deal with whatever was going on, then this steps in. It's, part of dissociation. This steps in and becomes a more powerful version of yourself.
It's an interesting thought form you're starting.
I had saw, it's funny because I thought about it and then like there's a weird little uh what is it? Season or show that didn't really get any. Eli Roth made it and I forget what it was called, but it's something about a demon and the possessed girl actually uses the demon to kick other demons out. Of like she goes and does the exorcism because anyway, I don't know.
The
But
Legion of Exorcists? Is that it, maybe?
no, it was something. It's got a girl on the front cover. Something like hometown or
Yeah, because I feel like people are gonna be like, hometown, maybe?
let me see. Anyway, so basically the first episode that I watched because I have to decide if I want to buy it or not, but I was like, I don't know. Um, the first episode that I watched, the demon was inside the boy because the boy was getting molested by like the uncle or something. And that's why they were paired up together. So even like she had like got him out. Now, obviously, this is all story. She got him out, and then he came back in because he's still in that kind of like
Hmm.
situation. Like if you're not going to change your life, you're still going to have attract this demon, right?
Is it A Ghost Ruin My Life?
No.
Hmm.
Mm,
Okay. Those are the only two that I'm really seeing. Because now I want to know too. I'm like, well, I don't know what that is.
oh, please. I love Eli Roth, by the way. His stuff has always hit really good. South from Hell. South of Hell.
South of Hell. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, there's 8 episodes of it. I didn't watch all of it, but like it was all right. That first one, it's kind of you can tell it was low budget when it first started, which is fine. I recognize the actress. She's not big, but she definitely had some moments. Like I recognized who she was. Um, yeah, that's so it was kind of cool. It was an interesting concept for sure. Um, so the way Teal Swan had kind of talked about this is powerless and the zero sum game, which I haven't like looked up and I should have. But basically demons play the zero sum game and they have a willingness to cause harm. That's not above their pay grade.
Okay, the zero, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Duh. A zero sum game is a situation for someone to win, someone has to lose an equal amount.
Okay, so this is where demons are, right? Like some of them, not all of them. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. She also realized that we have many demons, many spirit guides, and you have many contracts with them. So we already have these kind of things that we don't look at. Because of course you have, if you have many spirit guides or angels or anything like that, you know the universe gives you the opposite side too. So you of course have many demons that are part of you, your history as a soul or being or whatever that you're incarnated in this lifetime. Um, which also makes sense that you have multiple contracts with these demons that you have to fulfill, which is interesting because I know that we talk about contracts in this puts a different layer on contract. Now, I don't want people to get freaked out because like it doesn't necessarily mean if you realize that you've always have them and they didn't cause too much trouble in the first place, then you're probably okay. It's like we're not all going to die in the full moon. We've been through many full, or Mercury in retrograde is the one I really like. Everybody's like, "Oh God, it's Mercury retrograde," and it's like, "Yeah, but you do you know how many times you've lived through it,
And not knowing you were living through it,
right? And didn't know
and you
every
didn't
time,
even know.
didn't even." So that's something that we can look at in the future about how, like, how demons how demons are in our life. What good or bad do they do? What are they there for? Because that's, they're there or and what the contracts are and what do we do with those?
Right.
Right?
Like,
Do we
what's their
fulfill
job? What's their
them?
purpose?
Right. We don't know if we are supposed to fulfill them. We automatically go to they're bad and they're wrong and we need to get them out. Kill my
Right.
coffee. Don't kill coffee. Now, we also have to realize that some people get their needs met by doing this. So, like, the heroin addict gets their needs met because they have something that they're not wanting to deal with. And now it's become so big that the only way to shut it off in your head is to drug yourself to stop thinking. So we can see where this is also like alcoholics are very good about this too, is they have something that they don't want to deal with that keeps playing in their head that they can't shut off. So the alcohol helps shut it off.
Right.
So you can see where you're benefiting. Like the alcoholic is benefiting from the alcohol because they're shutting off a part that they can't shut off, whether it's a feeling, whether it's a thought. The problem is that your body can't sustain that. And
Right.
that's what ends up killing you. But it's serving a purpose.
Another good one's gambling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, you don't want a feeling there's your lack or anything like that. And then that's the thing that you're using your vice, right?
And the thing is like you're trying to fulfill this lack of money, right? With gambling, because you think that just that one more time I'm going to hit it. And then what you're really doing is you're depleting all of the things you do already have.
Absolutely. That you already had.
Yep.
And really, it's showing you what you did have,
Right.
but we don't look at
That's
that part.
that's the part that, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yep.
Um, Now, if you're doing stuff like tarot cards or any kind of divination or anything like that, you're not going to attract a demon. Like, it's not that simple. You would have to literally be thinking of demons when you're doing it to actually but if you're not thinking about demons, then you're not going to attract a demon because attention is law. Anything that your attention is on is what your, that's how you're programming what's going to happen. So like easy example for this is like before I go into a restaurant, my intention is to have good food, good service, good times. Like I can almost see it in my head because I've done it so many times. And then we walk in. Now, if you think that I always get bad service, I always get bad food, they always mess up stomach up, this is a spell that you're creating. This is your intentions, right? So when you walk in, already you're met with a lousy server, dirty tables, your food's wrong, it's cold, blah, blah, blah. Like you can even mess with this a little bit and do the intent like science experiments. So do the intention of the bad one, see what happens. Do the intention of what you really want to manifest in your life and do that one, right? Like these are quick little things that you can kind of test out. Like I go to the one Verizon store by my work because I always get good service. They're always friendly to me. I always, they always figure out my bill for me greatly. I went in there the other day, they slapped on a thing, even though they were busy, everything worked out for me. And these are the little tips that you can start to kind of believe in the fact that your intention creates your world. Because I know that's a hard concept. It took me a long time to figure that out. And I don't still don't have it figured out.
Well, and one thing I'd like to add to that too, because I've noticed this myself that a lot of us big spiritual people or teachers that are trying to bring you along your path don't talk about too, is it is normal to have that one thought come in and then you're like, you just can't get stuck on it because that's what happens too, is you get stuck because all you hear all the time is I can't get stuck in a bad loop and oh my God, I'm gonna make everything bad because I had the one bad spark of thought and like blah 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 blah. Now you're stuck. Address it. If you have that one bad spark come in of like, oh
Well,
my God, what if I
transgress it.
that's what I'm saying is like address
Yeah.
it. Like when you have that one spark come in, that one thought of what if I summon a demon? Address it immediately. I'm not gonna summon a demon. That's not what I'm here for. Like address that fear because we have that in us. It's like well, it's part of our shadow self that we haven't worked on yet, right? And that's gonna come up. It's normal. It happens. It happens to me. And you have to address it instead of getting stuck in that loop of like, oh my God, I'm gonna do this, and now I'm scared, and now I can't stop thinking about it because that one spark came in and like it's dragging you down the wormhole of
Yeah.
fuck, now where am I at? You gotta address it and tell it no. Like we're going to be okay. We didn't do this. We're not here to do this. Like that has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now. So that you can start to
Hmm.
halt it and then move forward.
Well, and remember, get yourself a little saying or whatever, and remember that, like, for me, I just remember to inflame myself in prayer or to put my eyes back on God. Like, that's one of the things that, like, I was just talking to Cassie earlier today, is like when I notice when I'm swimming, I am, I have a hypercritical brain and it's loud. I mean, because it starts to go and it's like, look at that person, look at that person. How did they wear that? How did they wear that? What are they doing in the pool? That's weird. And it just goes. It is just and like, why did you do that? And why now they think you're weird? And what's that guy looking at? And why is his shorts look like that? And
Yeah.
don't sit next to me. Right.
Yeah.
And
She gets out of roll.
girl, she does, especially I'm like, yeah, let's swim. And then you're like, we're just gonna run this out because maybe this critical brain will get tired. Um, and eventually, it's almost like a tap. Like if I turn an old tap and it's kind of rusty or whatever, and then you have to run it to run that out. It's almost like that. If I can, this is where exercise really helps with mental health. And I know that everybody's gonna go, ugh, because you guys, everybody talks about mental health and anxiety, but they don't do fucking any shit about it. So like, go run on a fucking treadmill. And I know that everybody tells you to do that, but I'm telling you, it works. When you get a runner's high, it's because your hamster on your treadmill in your brain, she tired. So she not running anymore.
She went and took a nap.
She's taking a nap. It really does help. Try it.
Yeah.
Go somewhere. Run until you sweat and hurt all over because it will do you such wonders. And I am the prime example of like stubborn and don't want to move, and I'm not doing this. And I'm going to pay for my Planet Fitness membership, I mean, charity, because then it makes me feel better because I joined a gym, right?
Yeah, you're
Which
donating.
I know we all have those, right? So what I found was in water is I remembered I loved swimming. And for some reason, the block in my brain was that I couldn't swim and exercise at the same time.
Hmm.
Those connections didn't come until I was like, oh my God, I can swim and exercise. And this like it's both. Like I can
Mine,
have fun and I can do exercise and work on my body, right?
mine now is line dancing.
Oh my
I
God,
am
that's so fun.
obsessed with line dancing. It's so much fun when you start picking it up. But my fucking God, when I say I'm getting the best workout I've ever gotten in my life.
Yes, and you're having fun.
And it's so much fun. And I feel so good after it. And I like, especially when you get one of those damn dances down and you're like, yes.
Yes, because you're actually, instead of working out and you're not getting anywhere, you're actually attaining knowledge and skill at the same time, right? Like
Yes.
that's so amazing.
It's so satisfying. And like, there's nothing that I'm thinking about other than fuck, I'm getting tired from trying to jump around doing this freaking dance. And two, like, all I'm thinking about is the steps. And it helps so much because by the end of it, I don't even know what the hell I was thinking about before.
Right, absolutely.
She gone.
This is something that would really help everyone is just you need to be sweaty and you need to be tired.
You gotta get
Those are the
moving,
two
dude.
things.
Move your body.
Absolutely. Move your body, love your body. Like, um, okay, so back on whatever we were talking about.
Yeah, because that's just a good tip to stop the overthinking behind the potential to, am I
Yes,
going to go down the road of, oh my God, am I going to summon a demon? So no, with tarot, all these things,
right.
that's our advice. Anyways, please continue.
Um, so the basic thing too is, don't act like a demon. Don't act like a sloth. Don't act wrathful. Don't act prideful. Don't act, just to make it simple, stick with the 70 deadly sins. Watch Seven. Great movie. Has all of them in there. Has Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and another guy, and I forget what his name was.
Yep.
Anyway, I guess that doesn't. Look at where you feel
Kevin
powerless.
Spacey.
That's
Sorry,
who it is.
Kevin
Yeah, yeah.
Spacey.
Great.
Anyways,
It's a great movie. Brad Pitt's so young. Morgan
okay.
Freeman is Morgan Freeman because we love him in
Because who
everything he
does not
does.
love Morgan Freeman's voice?
Seriously. Seriously.
If you don't, I have questions.
I have questions.
Lots of them.
Please contact me immediately. You're clearly possessed.
We have
Kidding.
problems.
Just joking. Okay. So, um,
You were saying, look where you feel powerless.
look where you feel powerless. This is where your demons are kind of going to lie as well. This is why people are yelling out in the world because we have Karens now, right? So this is the whole thing about Karens is that they're really fearful. They're fearful things are changing. They're fearful that they're not going to get enough. They're fearful that they're also fearful that they're getting old because that's right, kind of right where that like lies at, right?
Right.
So this is where, and then that anger, that wrath comes out of them because they're trying to protect themselves.
Right.
And that's where it all comes from. So Um, Also find out where you are disconnected from God too, or universe. I know that sometimes. So figure out it all kind of runs around the same thing, right? Like where you're powerless, where you're not putting your light on, where um where your desires are. Blah 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 blah. And then there was something that I really liked that I saw was all I mean, I know we said this, but I'm gonna say it again. All the demons in movies are fairy tales. They are false.
Yep.
You take them like a fairy tale or a fable.
Yes.
You take them metaphorically.
Yeah.
And this is where we're forgetting, right?
100%.
Um, Also, really when it comes down to it is mastering one's own senses. So taste, touch, like I like to eat. So basically the touch and the taste that is, or the taste that I have is what, and the touch of my mouth, that's where my demon is, right? So that's where I have to focus on mastering my willpower in that arena.
Mm, that makes sense.
Um, Ego. And so if your little ego is the devil, this is what's hindering us from achieving anything. So, like success. Like, if I'm gonna run a marathon, then I know that I have to practice, practice, practice to build up the skill and trade to actually run a marathon, right? I can't just go and do it. So, whatever is hindering me from stopping from practicing doing that every day to achieve that goal of marathon, that is what I want to address as a demon.
Mm, yep.
Um, Other than that, that's all I got.
Well, I think that is a good amount. This is going to be one of our longer episodes. So if you make it all the way to the end, thanks for listening and watching
Yeah,
because
thanks.
I feel like this is one of those episodes where like we couldn't have done this shorter, but also like doing a part one and two just seemed like doing too much. So we'd rather it be a longer episode and get through all these different parts because this is a big topic. There's a lot of fear around it, like we've talked about, but we hope we've debunked a lot of that fear. And knowledge
Yeah,
is power, man. You the more you know, the better you feel about the things that you can't see or feel or are unaware
absolutely.
of seeing or feeling, if that makes
Right,
sense.
right. It's very true because even like ghost inspectors are the same way, is that they don't come into your house unless you're an energetic match to it.
And like the more you know about them, the less scarier. Don't get me wrong, there's jump scares, and that's a thing. Jump scares still get me. But
Well, even like you watch ghost hunters, they jump,
yeah, how could you
right?
not?
Like
That's a
you have
visceral reaction.
it's okay, but you can come to your senses afterwards and be like, okay, like what are you doing?
Right. I mean, I just think that I don't know, that I hope my hope is that this makes you guys feel better. Um
Mhm. More empowered.
More empowered and also, to hopefully give a different light to the word demon, because there can be many different meanings, especially interpersonally. I think that's a huge part that I really appreciate that we talked about that I did not foresee today, that Nicole brought to the episode today that I really appreciated because um those books, there's a lot of books, but the ones that you were talking about, listening to Teal Swan, who talks about this in a personal way, and
Hmm.
the book Feeding Your Demons, that book helps a lot, and I hope that this whole podcast just helps in multiple ways.
Absolutely. And I think it will because I think we hit it we hit it the best we could with what we have, really.
Yes.
We have limited knowledge. We don't like to look at demons. Like, so when you're going through fear and the unknown and the depth or the abyss even. Like you're always afraid of what's going to be looking back at you. But the truest thing is that it's you.
Yep.
It's you looking back at you.
Yep.
You are the demon. Like you're like it's the projection of it, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I think
Uh,
that's a great way to end it. So
Absolutely.
we'll see you guys in the next episode. We're going to be finally getting into the four agreements again and doing a deep dive. So we'll see you
Mhm.
then.
All right. See you later,
Bye.
heathens.